Hi Iron fans, hope you're all alright. Just starting to settle a bit now, and the reality setting in with what's happened at Scunthorpe United. I think I've sort of come to terms with it. I apologise for my last video being, I don't know, somewhat down, but I've got to say, maybe I need to do it a bit more, because I've got lots more new subscribers, and for the first time I've hit over 2k views, so you know, maybe I have to be down. And I'd like to say a big thank you to all those new subscribers and all those that have left comments from many different football clubs around the country. It was very nice. Only one or two perhaps harsh messages, but you know, I've got to say, you know, it's been nice having some sort of feedback and a bit of, you know, a bit of, maybe a bit of banter and some good discussion points. I sort of enjoyed it. Yeah, so a big thank you to all those people. But yeah, I suppose the question is, what now? What's going to happen next season? How many players are we going to keep? Which players do we want to keep? For me, I've already said it, I think, previously. I hope we're going to be able to keep Elliott. I hope we're going to be able to keep Wilson. I hope we're going to be able to keep Ogle. I say I don't know what the ins and outs are and what the contract situation is. What are those players going to think about playing in that lower league? Has to be said, of all the clubs in there, will be one of the bigger clubs with the bigger fan bases. Some of the grounds don't hold that many fans, so you know, if we start off well and we're doing well, a lot of those grounds, they're going to be, many of them are going to be sellouts for Scunthorpe fans, I would have thought. But then again, there's another question: will we lose a lot of our own fans going down? I hope we don't. I'd like to think, in one sense, that there'll be a rallying cry around the town for people to get back to the club and try and get as big a crowd as we can, because ultimately the club's going to need money. Money comes in all many forms. There's obviously, we want good sponsorship, and any fans that have got fundraising ideas, bring them to the fore of the club. You know, there's a good way of communicating now between the club and the fans as well. In what I think the Iron Army podcast with. They had Dave Hilton on explaining his position, which I thought was excellent. I've quite enjoyed all the podcasts that they've done so far, and so yeah, I would say to people, anyone that hasn't seen it, you know, go onto YouTube and look up the Iron Army podcast. It's a really good watch, and I think it's a good source of how fans are going to be able to communicate with the club and the chairman. That's all got to be a positive and a good thing. You know, so you know, if you're out there and you've got a good idea for a way for the club to raise funds, etc. I mean, I was sat last night racking my brains, which takes some doing with me. I've only got about 3 brain cells, trying to think of ideas of how we could raise money. I even thought of the idea of having a. They used to have the open days at Glanford Park. I don't know if that's still been happening in the last few years, obviously, because I've only returned this season, so I don't know if that's been happening. But some sort of open day with fundraising events, and I'd even thought of if something like that was to happen, gearing up in some sort of perhaps Grimsby or Hull City shirt or whatever, and sitting in some stocks and charge people £1 to throw wet sponges or whatever at me with, because I mean, you know, just daft things like that. Anything that's going to raise funds for the club and try and promote the club and try and get as many fans back, because we're going to need so much funding. You know, it's like listening to what Dave Hilton said, yeah, there's going to have to be cost-cutting measures. None of us like that, and we certainly don't like it when it affects people's jobs. But we also have to live in the real world and know that we've got to concentrate funds on the playing side of the game, because ultimately that's what people are coming to watch. People are coming to watch the games. They want to see a good game of football. If they can, they want to see quality football. That costs. You know, we can argue all the time about how much money it is and how much players get at the top, you know, in the Premiership and at all levels, no doubt. There's some high wages to be earned. I think one of the players at Wrexham's on about $6,000, and that's at Wrexham in non-league. So it just shows you we need money. So I think we've got to listen to what David Hilton says. He's a businessman. He's obviously a successful businessman. I like what I've had to hear from him, and when he was on the podcast, I thought he spoke very well, and a lot of what he said made sense. I couldn't really find anything to sort of argue with. But yeah, that's it. Where do we go? I mean, people can say as a U-turn in terms of the training facilities, because they were looking at going to train at Ilkeston, and now they're looking to find ways to find somewhere more suitable here. Hopefully that'll happen. The academy, there's a business plan come from Tony Dawes now that is going to help fund. You know, all these things are positives, helping to keep the community involved, and that is important. Yeah, I just think as Scunthorpe United supporters, we all need to sit down and rack our brains and try. You know, there'll maybe be somebody out there that will think of something that nobody else has thought of about how to bring funds into the club. But yeah, I feel we've got to try and push now and try and be positive, because we want to come back. We want to get back into league football. It's a good little club, and we need to be in the Football League. As many of those comments I've had over the last couple of days from fans from numerous clubs, non-league and in the league. I've had comments from Everton fans, Sunderland fans, Scarborough fans, Woking fans, Charlton fans, numerous, and all, you know, very supportive and positive messages, and it was quite heartwarming. It's nice to see that in the football world, yeah, you have your banter with your clubs and everything that's part and parcel of the culture, which is you know, it's a good thing. But it's also nice when things like this happen to clubs, and we, you know, it's not only us, it's happened to many clubs. Clubs like Stockport and York have been down where we are now, and they've come back, and we've got to use that and say that's what we want to do. We don't want to fester and let the club die. So yeah, I mean, that's just what my views are. The other thing I wanted to mention was I think there's going to be a flag day. I don't know when it is. Will it be on the last home game, which it normally is, because there is an away game. Our last game's away at is it Dorking, I think, but the last one were at home to Southend on the 22nd. I quite enjoy flag days over the years at the Honest Lawyer. Yeah, I mean, if that's going to happen, if anyone can confirm, and just put something in the comments, what's going to be happening there. It'd be nice to think so. So yeah. Anyway, take care, everybody. Let's all try and be positive. Up the iron.